Come on. Oh man, what a last 20 minutes to the game. I'm struggling for words here. I think I've been honestly been off my seat, as you can imagine, so much. And I'm sure all of you have as well. Get involved, get liking, subscribing. We weren't talking backstage. We're going to keep the excitement for now. So it's the first time I'm talking to Stu and Fred. Jamie will be along in a minute. Welcome to the weekly armchair. Let's talk business. Stu, Fred, either one of you, tell me how you're feeling.
Well, yeah, it's kind of it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? It really, yeah. Look, I know we're going to the game a bit later. I know we will, but
Shall I kick him off?
right now, to all you City fans, where was Erling Haaland today? Anyone seen him? Anyone seen him? I didn't see him. Who is he? Do we know him? Rashford's got a much better record than him. If you look at the heads-to-head, he's got a much better record than him. Rashford was injured, hobbling, and he still managed to net. Erling who is what I will say. Erling who. He's had his moment in the sun as Mr. Haaland when people didn't know how to play him. And now, is that three games without a goal?
Yeah, I think so. And someone I know triple captained him today.
Well, what a shame. But
Chelsea
the thing about it is, and I know we'll delve deep into the game. Guardiola kind of almost gave it away, didn't he, a couple of days ago in the press that we're not playing well enough. He was almost setting his team up to fail. And, as good as they played today, City, because at times they played some real good, intelligent football. They really did, and it really gave us a bit of a problem. But fuck it, get in, have it.
Yes, that's it. That's what I want to see. Jamie, thanks for joining us, buddy. Freddie, over to you, my man.
Honestly, that's a big win. I have to admit, I was a little bit worried, especially like when you said Guardiola is sort of hedging his comments, hedging his bets at the beginning of the game. I was thinking, here we go. And especially when they got their first goal, they dominated. We just didn't come out for the second half. But it just shows, doesn't it, that this season we're just a completely different team. It just takes two chances and the game is just completely switched. And like Stu said, where is Haaland? I mean, that guy's a fool for triple captaining Haaland. I mean, look at Rashford, 9 in 9, first time since the 50s. So yeah, look, we're the team in the ascendancy. We're 1 point behind City now.
Didn't triple. I used my triple earlier in the season and fucked it up. But there you go. We all make mistakes, don't we? It's very difficult to tell. I mean, I'm honestly, boys, I'm absolutely elated. You know, we all spoke about this earlier in the week. I quietly felt quite confident about today. Now, usually that's burnt me very badly. But, you know, we were good in the first half. You know, we held our own. We just weren't really sort of being clinical enough, I think, in the final third. I think a massive change for me in that second half was Martial coming off. As soon as we were I know that they were coming at us, but the reason why they were coming at us a little bit more was the fact that we couldn't get onto the ball, we couldn't pass it forward, and Rashford is not good at holding the play. Consequently, he loses it. They come at us even more, and that was just recycling. Okay, so that was a big problem for me. Obviously, some changes were made. Garnacho came on. I thought he made a very good appearance. He looked good. Decision making was good. Looked like a quite an astute player, Stu. And obviously got the assist too. Jamie, last but not least, my buddy, I'm pleased you're here, my man. Talk to me.
Yeah, it was a good game. I think obviously it was a tricky one, especially at the start of the second half, because granted, you know, I know we're all buzzing with the form that we're in the minute, but we're still coming up against this City super team that have obviously been the better side out of the two of us over the last decade. Guardiola's over the last 6 years he's been there, has built something special. So you know with them that they can turn it on, and especially on Derby Day, you know, against Southampton the other night, they looked poor, and you sometimes think, oh, maybe that's because, you know, Pep's doing that thing that he does every season where he has to have one token shock loss so that he can then turn around and go, oh, you know, it is difficult being the City manager. I need an extra £250 million here. and he ends up, with Erling Haaland, with Jack Grealish, they spend £250 million on fullbacks and stuff like that. So with the Southampton one, I didn't really take much from it, and I did think coming into the derby that they'd be fired up, especially like Fred said, with Guardiola's comments, with Gundogan's comments in the Southampton post game. You do think this City side is going to turn up, but yeah, I think especially that first half we did really well. We marshalled them well. The traps that we set for them and the game plan that Ten Hag set up clearly worked. And then I think Foden coming off, Grealish coming on, I think obviously was a good bit of play from Pep, because Grealish and Foden obviously two very, very different players. And then I think we struggled to sort of contain Grealish. And again, you see why he is the most fouled player in the division.
Yeah, Grealish is more of a ball progressor. They weren't able to get anything into the box and run at men. Obviously, Foden, he likes to sort of pass his way in, sort of create little pockets, whereas Grealish would take the ball, and that's what they needed. They needed someone to sort of challenge that right-hand side. Obviously worked, and then he got the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And, Foden was non-existent today, which is bizarre to say, because I think, again, he arguably is the most talented English footballer that we have. I just think that we did well at marshalling him today. And like we were just saying then, that Erling Haaland was a bit of a myth today. And it adds more gravity to this idea that, yes, his goal scoring record is phenomenal. No one's disputing that. City's problem last season, the season before that, has never been putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah,
it's never been the problem. So adding a centre forward to that City side, especially one with a limited profile,
it's made them look a little
bit
disjointed, hasn't it?
Yeah, because you end up with players like, granted, yes, De Bruyne does well when he gets into those channels and puts the ball in. That's probably where De Bruyne's at his most effective. And we saw that, for the goal. But when you've got Foden, when you've got Mahrez operating in those sort of inside forward half spaces, it sort of isolates Haaland. And a lot of the time we just marshalled him, kept him out of the game. And you saw that it limited City's attacks. I thought Wan-Bissaka was brilliant. I thought Malacia was brilliant.
Yeah, they're both great fullbacks.
Again, and we kept Rodri out of the game for most of it.
Shaw was excellent as well.
Yeah, sticking him at centre-back against Haaland. But
I've been really wrong about him. Someone said in the chat about him perhaps starting against Barca, and I said, nah, there's no way. And this was a few games back now, right? There's no way that he'll start against Barcelona. I think Maguire will be, if Martinez out, Maguire will be the one that will get the nod. But he's been so terrific. Really, really true. And today, that was a worry for me, with Haaland up there. But he played superbly. He was getting stuck in. He was very calm, very measured. His passing out from the back was excellent. Really impressed with him. He's come on leaps abound, but not just in the left back position, centre back.
I think Jamie makes the point. Actually, I had a debate with somebody a couple of days ago about, does Haaland actually make City a better unit, and he doesn't. Which is nuts to say, he doesn't. And I also made the point that City never had issues scoring goals. So really, what did the addition of Haaland offer City, apart from maybe the odd one or two tight games like today could have gone for Haaland to get that one shot, one goal kind of scenario? Incidentally, it didn't really happen because he was marshalled really, really well. And when you take De Bruyne out of the equation that we did, and Fred let him only go 2 or 3 times throughout the whole game, and one of those times was unfortunately the goal that Grealish had. It just shows the way that Ten Hag has been watching City methodically over the last couple of weeks. I would imagine last few performances. When they blew Chelsea away, everyone was thinking, City are now going to go and hit this role of what they normally do, 14 or 15 games on the spin with wins.
That's not always foregone, that sort of thing. I know that obviously confidence gives you something, but it's never a foregone. We lose just before we go on a European game or something. We had a great record coming back, and we're always like, oh, that could happen. And actually, we've been beaten quite a few times since coming back. Just never foregone, is it?
The interesting thing is, I said at the start of the season, I'd like to see a string of a win of 10 wins together, a run of 10 wins together. We're on 9 currently. And if we could do that, and I said at the time, it will take us somewhere. We don't know where it'll take us. We've got a massive amount of games, haven't we? We play again Tuesday. We're away to Palace, aren't we? On Tuesday. We've got a variety. I can't remember what we've got after that now. And
Arsenal. Arsenal's the big one.
Arsenal.
Yeah, we've got Arsenal. And then we've got the double header, haven't we, with Forest and Barcelona coming up. You know, it's a real tough time. But going back to the way that we played today, and I think Jamie was right. There were periods in the game where City were ultra intelligent. The way they played us, the way they moved us around the park was actually really good to watch. And I was thinking to myself at one point, as good as we've been this season, there's still that level. There's still that next level up. And there still is that next level up between where we are today and where City are. But what we've proven and what we've shown today is that, like a real good boxer, you've got to stop me, because if you don't stop me, I'm just going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And we did. There's a lot of City fans are crying that Bruno's goal shouldn't have stood.
Listen, it's easy for us to say that it should have, but hand on heart,
no, it should. No, it should.
It
should have stood.
It absolutely should have.
Rashford was brilliant. If you watch Rashford's body language, he looked across and he knew exactly he was 3 yards offside, actually. So the way that Casemiro noticed it as well, because if you watch the way the ball was curved, he was aiming for Bruno, and the fact that it just trickled there, then Rashford made the block brilliantly as the ball was coming across. Because if they tackled Rashford, it would have bobbled and been in play anyway for Bruno to take on. The way that Rashford left it, and it was a minuscule amount, by the way, almost rolled over his toe. It was that close.
Yeah.
And it was a great finish. And that was it for City. City was surrounding the referee. They'd gone. They lost their heads for that 5 minutes. We capitalised on it, and before we know it, we're 2-1 up. City got no way to come back in, except what? Again, Jamie. Sorry, Fred. I'll shut up now. What Jamie was talking about Grealish, but Grealish doesn't offer much apart from free kick winning. You know, the free kicks that he gets, he'll just travel across the width of the pitch rather than actually penetrate the pitch, which is great for us. But he just goes down too fucking easy for me. Way too easy.
Yeah, I think we've won. We just won the tactical battle today. I think the addition of Fred was a fantastic choice by Ten Hag. He followed De Bruyne out the first half, and if you mitigate that threat, he's their main outlet, arguably. So that's why the first half was a bit of a stalemate. They did react by bringing Grealish on. It's amazing how well Wan-Bissaka seems to play against City. I mean, I don't think Sterling ever scored against us, did he? And even Foden. So obviously, he was doubled up on the back post for Grealish's header, so he couldn't do much. But we reacted. We brought on Garnacho, like you mentioned. We brought Martial off half time. It was a bit of a slow start to the second half. City were on top, but I think the addition of Garnacho just changed the game. And
it really did.
To be honest, the Rashford's decision, and I think actually I'll give credit to Wan-Bissaka in the build-up as well. I think he took on
he was
a couple of
fantastic
sidesteps.
Today.
Brilliant.
He's come on leaps and bounds, and I know that both Malacia and Wan-Bissaka were fucking brilliant today. But there were some runs that I don't think I've ever seen Aaron Wan-Bissaka do. And
there was that one point where he was dancing. He danced with 3 of them, and I was just like, "Who's this? Who's this man?"
Brilliant. And I think, look, you've just got to give credit to Ten Hag. He's getting the most out of the players, and that's just a sign of a quality manager. And we ascended. We took. I mean, I think Grealish was their only sub, and like Stu mentioned, after Bruno's goal, their heads had gone. They didn't react. I would have expected to see a Gundogan. I would have expected to see them a little bit more direct.
They were all warming up, I think,
managed. Yeah, we managed it very well. And this is what your Casemiro's, your Rafael Varane's. I think Casemiro was going to come off at one point, and he kept him on because we've now got those leaders, that experience on the pitch to see out the games. And it's just great to see all round.
Oh, honestly, I can't tell you how I feel about United at the moment. I know we've spoken about this so often, but you kind of all sort of summed it up there, really. Like Erik Ten Hag, I just love everything that he's doing. I know obviously we're in a good position. I can talk like that and say that. And next week if we lose, for example, I might be a bit more pissed off. But he's just so astute, very clever, very tactical, brilliant. Casemiro, wonderful, wonderful player. I thought Rodri was actually superb today. He's so good on the ball. So good on the ball, but then he sort of derailed a bit as the game went on. But Casemiro, Varane, our fullbacks, just everyone. I know there was a period where we weren't particularly good, but I'm just so proud of them and what What a win, man. 1 point behind City now. We've had one defeat in 19 games. Yeah. What a turnaround. I'm just going to come up with a few comments. We're going to do, obviously, ratings at some point later, guys. So those of you in the comments, obviously, we want you to join in with us and give us your ratings for each player that we go through. All the usual. But anyway, Bruno Fernandes, the most important thing was winning. It was an amazing comeback. We look like a team now. It's no difference. It has no difference between... for the offside call he's talking about here, it doesn't really make that much sense. But he said basically it had no difference, and the defenders weren't close enough in order to rule that outside, to be in Rashford interfering sort of thing. It was a close call to me. Marcus Rashford clear out. It was just a knock. Everything's absolutely fine. That's fortunate. I was really concerned when he went down at that point. And I thought it was going to be him coming off at half time, but then Martial was a bit surprised to me. Marcus Rashford is going to say the options we have got off the bench. There are players like Garnacho, young, hungry, and full of talent. And Pep comes out and he says the game is really good. They, Manchester United, are an incredible threat. So he's obviously been rattled.
That's Pep for you, though, isn't it? Like it's what he does. It's what he does.
It's what he does
well.
What
he means by that is, I'm really, really, really pissed off that these lot that have been shite for years have managed to get the better of me after I've just bought the best striker in the world. And it's an interesting one because for me, and obviously, like, you know, I buzz off a Derby Day win as much as anyone. My only thing is that we had Derby wins under Mourinho, under Van Gaal. We had Derby wins under Solskjaer. In the grand scheme of things, they meant fuck all. Do you know what I mean? Because City still went on to win most stuff. You know, we still sat and watched Liverpool win pretty much everything over the course of 5 years. So for me, it has to be just another step that Erik ten Hag is taking towards putting this United side where it should be, and I think it is. And I really, really do hope that it is a sign. You know, and I know that there's a show that I'm pretty sure the four of us were on ages ago. You know, we're talking like a year ago, 18 months ago, where we were talking about the next United manager and saying that, you know, Ten Hag was one of the people that we were all after. Yeah. And I remember saying that it was one of the main reasons I wanted Ten Hag above anything, from a really cynical point of view, was to stop him from going to City inevitably. Because when Guardiola decides, I've had enough of this now, like I'm going to go and manage Juventus, which I still don't think is a bad shot, given where they are, unless they get relegated, obviously, with all the nonsense going on with their finances. I still think Ten Hag would have been the obvious choice to go and replace Guardiola. Like, that footballing brain that he has in that big bald head of his is spot on. And I really hope today is one of those things that we look back at the end of the season and go, yeah, that was massive for us because it gave us the springboard we needed to go and chase down Arsenal. And I'm not saying we're going to go and win the league, obviously, because at the minute it is massively Arsenal's to lose. I still think City are a better side than us, all in all, across a 38-game season. But I'm really hoping that it's the springboard that we need to go and chase Arsenal down, to kick on and progress in the FA Cup, to kick on and progress in the Carabao Cup, get ourselves to a final, win the trophy. You know, because for Ten Hag to get his hands on a piece of silverware in his first season, regardless of whether it's just the League Cup, do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter.
I don't care.
It's exactly the same as Anthony. Anthony scoring that goal against Arsenal, right? Takes a massive weight off the players' shoulders, and Ten Hag getting his hands on anything. Yeah, granted, we've already won the Bangkok Century Cup. You know, people don't talk about that enough.
Put those medals on the table.
Exactly.
Those medals on the table.
As your favourite ever lifted the Bangkok Century Challenge Champions Trophy, whatever it was called. No, they haven't. But yeah, and I really do hope that, and it should be, because it shows the progression we're making. We went 1-0 down, and earlier in the season under Ten Hag, when we were still shaking off the cobwebs of Ranić and the last stages of Woolley and stuff like that, that 1-0 we go down, our heads drop, and we're 3-4-0 down within the space of 6 minutes. But we weren't, you know, straight away. We're still going back at them. Yes, they dominated, but City do dominate. They love to dominate possession. They dominate the middle third all the time, and that's how they play the game. Don't know about them.
Oh,
I can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry. I said you'd be shocked if you didn't see City dominate in periods of the game. Do you know what I mean?
But I really hope that this is, you know, it means that the fans get more on board with the idea of signing Weghorst, because if that ball genius wants the big Dutchman, then he's good enough for me.
Give it to him. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm very excited to see Wout play for United, because I think he'll
be
do well for us.
Wout of this world.
Shut up, man.
Do you know what? You make a really good point. I've always thought about it in the way that Solskjaer, we played counter-attacking football. He won a few derbies. You know, there was a point where I think he had one of the better records against Pep than any other manager Pep had come against. Whereas Mourinho, we were awful against big teams. You know, there was always that Lukaku joke that went around, but we beat, you know, the lower end teams. It seems like we're just adapting to everyone at the moment, and we are. I mean, look, we've beaten Liverpool. We're the only teams who have beaten Arsenal. We've now beaten City. We've gone on the run after the World Cup, albeit against lower team oppositions. We're really adapting to all opposition, and it's just, I think there's no coincidence that other managers have noticed and they've commented on Ten Hag becoming our manager, because I think they realise that this guy's actually a serious coach, and that's another big difference. He's a coach. He's actually the one conducting training himself. He's not, delegating. He's getting stuck in, and it's brilliant. I think he was naturally, going to take over City, and I agree with you, Mark. It's very, very. It's one of the few good decisions that we've made as a club in recent years. There's consensus across the fan base. Everyone seems to be behind him. We just need time. We're on this one of form, arguably with a half an attack, if you think about it. I mean, look, our main threat is we're bringing on Garnacho, an 18-year-old, 60 minutes pretty much every game, and we're still managing to get points. So really, really good. And it's good to see Pep moaning. The moan's already started. He said that Rashford's goal was offside. I think the PGO at MOL have already confirmed that it was onside. So, yeah, it seems to be we're getting hated again, and that seems to be good.
Case closed. You said, great points. Thanks, boys. You said earlier, Jamie, about a springboard. Sometimes when you're going through a really bad run of form, which we have been so used to over the last few years at least, you need that springboard at that point. But we seem to be on one hell of a run. We've now got another springboard to work on. We are going to come and hit a brick wall at some point and obviously drop some points. But you go into Arsenal next week. This is a massive boost of confidence. Again, that doesn't mean everything. We could still lose, whatever that might be. But, we're 6 points behind Arsenal. I'm not saying go for the title, but you just pick up as many bloody points as you can. Other teams drop, right?
That's, spot on. And all you can do. And one thing that we've really faltered on in recent years, I was looking at it. When was it? It was 2 years ago. We were top of the league. And my thing has always been is that if you're at any point in the season, as long as you've all played an equal amount of games, if you're at the top of the league, and this might be the most self-explanatory statement, but if you're top of the league, you only have yourself to blame if you lose the league from that point on. Now, I'm not saying obviously we're not top of the league now, and it's not in our hands because Arsenal need to drop points. They've still got a game in hand on us, so realistically they can go 9 points clear before we can mount any sort of serious attempt to chase them down. But like I say, all we can do now is beat what's in front of us, play how we've been playing, and hopefully at some point they drop some points. Do I think, obviously I'd love to win the league. I don't think we will, but that's absolutely fine. I don't think the aim was ever for Ten Hag to win the Premier League. I think most people would have been happy with, potentially getting their hands on a cup and a top 4 finish in his first season, which I know obviously we used to mock Arsenal for that, but the difference is that it was a very established coach that they had under Wenger, coming top 4 and winning an FA Cup. And for Ten Hag to turn us around from what we were under Ranić, how we were playing, these players, man, they were absolutely out of any sort of ideas after 20 minutes of a game, whereas you feel that they're fighting for Ten Hag, they're fighting for each other. And you never know, man. You never know with football. All it takes is for Arsenal to have a bit of a capitulation. And I think they're doing brilliantly. Do you know what I mean? All jokes aside about Arsenal, Arteta's got them playing some wonderful football. They're a wicked young side. But if over the last few years there was any team that I think could bottle the position they're in, it probably would be Arsenal. And that's not a dig at their club. It's just, you have to wonder, Mikel Arteta's never been in a position where he's at the top of the table before. These players have never been in a position where they're top of the table before. It's foreign land to them. So as much as that works in their advantage and they just keep playing like they're enjoying football, at the same time, they don't know how to manage that lead. They don't know, if they take, for example, it'd be interesting to see how they bounce back after the Newcastle draw, because they were frustrated by that. They've been charged by the FA for the way they conducted their players. That's a point, it's 2 points dropped in their eyes. They know they've got us on the horizon. They've just seen us beat City. They've still got to play City coming up as well. It's in February, isn't it?
Twice, they've got to play City twice, haven't they?
Yeah. So in the back of their minds, they might be going, bloody hell. So yeah,
Who
all we can
knows?
do is continue to do what we're doing. We're playing fantastic football, and we'll see where we are come April.
Yeah, this is the
Unfortunately
thing, isn't
for
it?
us,
You have to get excited about the next step and where this could go. And look, none of us, and no Man United fan in the right mind, is saying let's go for the league. But the thing is, you're in a good position. You've got Arsenal next week. Just do what you can. See
Mark,
where we end up.
the problem is, by definition now, because we're a point behind City, we're effectively in this title race. Because
Yeah.
if City are in it,
Yeah.
so are we, and that's the point about it. One thing I would say is, and it's got completely forgotten about really. You can't underestimate the real positive impact Steve McLaren's having on the way that we're playing and the way that the team is set up. It's no coincidence that we are playing some type of attractive football. The way that we're organised since McLaren's come back, it's almost reminiscent.
That was our best football under Ferguson when
Yeah,
McLaren
it was.
in.
Yeah, and it's almost reminiscent about that. And I think McLaren and Ten Hag, Van der Gaag, they're all working together, so well. But you've got this real experience, this real football knowledge of McLaren. I think he's working quite well for us. The other thing I would say is I see a lot of fans go on about, well, City would have deserved to win because they dominate possession, etc., etc. You hear it all the time. It's an irrelevance. You can have 99% possession, but if you don't put the ball in the back of the net and win the game, it's an irrelevance how much possession you have. And that's where football, and that's where we, as a team and as a club, are starting to re-perform now. We don't care. We'll concede possession if we need to, just so that we can regroup and then get our assault going, and that's what we've done today. Really, I did think that City did play with intelligence, I have to say, but I just think at the moment that we're in this kind of rich vein of form where it doesn't matter who we take the field against, we believe we can win. And I like the frustration that we're showing when we're giving away bad passes, which we weren't before. We were just clapping. Now we're not. We're chucking our hands up in the air saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" It was a simple 4-yard ball. What are you doing? That type of thing. You need that. I think Casemiro brings that. Varane brings that. Be interesting to see what he does Tuesday. He'll have a big decision to make on the team on Tuesday. Going away to Palace, crikey! It's never easy.
Annoying, isn't it? They've apologised, haven't they? It's an absolute disgrace they put that fixture in when they have. But you make a really good point on the possession, Stu. Hopefully, this is a good example and puts to bed all the possession. They were the better team because they're 70%. I'm looking at the stats. They're 70% possession, 1 shot on target. We've had 30% possession, 4 shots on target, 2 goals. So look, everyone knows how City are going to play. And 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, they win. But look, we're on the ascendancy. We just need time. It's difficult to get carried away because we are only halfway through the season. We've got all the cup matches. A couple of injuries for any team can change the season and turn everything on its head. So yeah, we just got to continue. I think keep your heads down, and hopefully we're going a little bit under the radar because I think that's the best way to go with it. Put all the focus on City, Arsenal, and then hopefully we carry on doing what we're doing. Hopefully we get to the Carabao final. The landscape's changed now. Like Jamie mentioned a couple of years ago under Wenger,
feels great.
Yeah, the joke was top 4 in the Carabao Cup. Now there's just there's so many good teams. You've got to take everything seriously. The Carabao Cup's as important as the FA Cup. Top 4 is one of the main aims to break into that every season. So yeah, just keep your heads down, go a little bit under the radar, and hopefully we remain injury free and continue.
Just quickly, I just want to go through a couple of things. I'm going to come to you, Jamie, and you can say what you say, and my question as well. I just want to say, Hammer, great to have you with us, bro. Found you guys. Been a long time since I've had a chat with this man. I will catch up with him. I will catch up with you soon, bro. I want to come to 2 players in particular today that I think really need to be given a lot of credit. I think the whole team can, but these 2 players in particular. Fred. First of all, he was asked to man mark De Bruyne and kept him out of that game a hell of a lot. Now, obviously, when City were coming at us and looked more dangerous, it was a bit harder for him, but I thought he was fantastic today. Really, really good. Made a very, very good account of himself. And Bruno Fernandes, He's been under a bit of criticism on and off throughout the season, not contributing enough, not doing this, not being the main man, and whatever else. He had 41 touches today, 6 out of 7 long balls completed, 1 key pass, 1 big chance created, and 1 goal. Jamie, come to those two for me, please, and say what you're going to say. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, to be fair, I'll make the point I was going to make in a bit. It's in the head and all that. But yeah, just on those two players, yes, I think Fred has had a massive comeback under Ten Hag, and I think that's mainly down to him being utilised in his best position. When he was constantly played in a pivot alongside McTominay, it didn't make the most out of either of their talents, and I know people have their opinions on both of them. I'll happily eat my words about Fred. There's clearly both of them offer something to this United team at times, but playing them as a double pivot was restricting both of them. Fred is not a defensive midfielder. Fred really does well in that 8. Just sort of trying to break the lines if he can, or just screening. Not even screening the back 4, just sort of screening the midfield third. And he did that well today. I think the 1-2 that De Bruyne played with Mahrez to get away from Fred is just an example of how good De Bruyne and Mahrez can be when they play. It's how good this City side is. I don't blame Fred for the goal. I don't blame any of our players for the goal, realistically. You see how shocked Wan-Bissaka and Varane looked when it was actually Grealish that was heading the ball, not Haaland, because they were clearly like, well, they've got someone else that's jumping here. What's going on here? So it was one of those sort of goals happen when you come up against top tier oppositions. But I think Fred won the duel today. If you were to ask between, who I thought got the better of the other one, Fred or De Bruyne, I think De Bruyne looked frustrated. And De Bruyne, and I've said this a few times, and I usually get a lot of stick from it, especially neutrals, is that De Bruyne does this quite a lot. Like, yes, he popped up with an assist today, like, fair enough. But other than that, he was pretty much non-existent. And he does that so often in massive games, both for club and for country. And yet everyone is in this dumbfounded agreement that he's the greatest midfielder on the planet, has been the best midfielder in the world over the last 5-6 years. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. I can understand people's logic and argument, and I'm not here to say that he's not. But I watch him week in, week out and go, he's not done anything that moves me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't, like, yeah, he'll hit the occasional wicked pass, but Pogba used to do that, and people hated Pogba. But this isn't a show about De Bruyne, anyway. I'm just getting that across. I still think he's a phenomenal footballer. Don't get me wrong. It's just everyone talks about him like he is just this magician, and I'm like, I watch him, I'm like, yeah, you're pretty good, but you're playing in like a wicked City side. Like, I reckon I could have a highlight reel if I played in that City side. Do you know what I mean? And then Bruno Fernandes is. I love him. I love the guy. I've loved him since he signed. He brought us much needed bite, much needed on the pitch leadership. He was always a bit of a captain about the armband. I know Stu always has his comments about captains and leaders in football. And Bruno was one of them. He was always trying to drag us by the scruff of the neck. Yes, there's aspects of his game that frustrate me. Every game without fail, that he's going to spend a bit of time on the floor with a bit of a knock, and he does that grimace that he always does. And I'm neither here nor there with it, but he's a fantastic footballer. I think he's a victim of his own success at times. The stats he put up in those first 50 games that he appeared for us were just otherworldly, and I think people still use that as his benchmark. And so when he's not hitting those numbers, people assume immediately that he's
Bruno
playing
Fernandes
poorly.
has now scored 39 Premier League goals since his debut in February 2020. That's not even assists, that's scored.
That's a ridiculous
no Premier
number.
League midfielder has scored more. Unbelievable, but you're absolutely right. Victim of your own success.
And it's not even just like rival fans, it's United fans as well. Like, there are sections of Twitter fan bases, and we've spoken on them before, but that actively crucify the man. Any misplaced pass he has, they'll turn around and be like, "Oh, this is why he shouldn't be in the side." Blah 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 blah. Like, we need a replacement for him. Like, that man needs to be in the starting 11 week in, week out. We've seen how much poorer we are when he doesn't play, because not only does he provide the energy in the final third, but you watch like the way he roams around the opposition's final third, occupying defenders, looking for the pass, making himself available, and then just trying something. Like, I'd rather have a midfielder that does that and misplaces a pass. Yes, there was that one that was quite frustrating where it was the overhit pass for Rashford, I think it was. And yeah, he put his hands up and was like, well, it's football. no midfielder in the world will hit that pass 100% of the time. And I think he is a phenomenal footballer. He'll keep getting better under Ten Hag. And I think he was wonderful today again. I think getting a goal against City was nice for him. Do you know what I mean? Like him getting a goal against a big rival, against a top 4 opposition, hopefully gives him a bit of a break from some of the pundits. Because again, the pundits are always the same. They go, Bruno Fernandes, what is he doing in this United side? Gives away fouls. But at the end of the day, he presses from the front. He defends from the front. He's the first man you see tracking back constantly. He wears that armband with pride. You can tell that being the captain of Manchester United is a dream come true for him. And I love him. And I could wax lyrical about him all day. But that man has played in so many different roles for us, and he puts in 100% effort every time. Yes, he might not put in a 10 out of 10 performance every time, but he's the difference maker for us a lot of the time, and a lot of the work he does goes unappreciated. So it's nice to see him get on the score sheet. Nice to see him have a real big hand up there, potentially with man of the match for me. Him and Casemiro and Varane are all probably in that conversation, but I think any of those United players today could be. So
it's not often I disagree with Jamie on things, but the Kevin De Bruyne point, I've got a little disagreement there. But I fully agree with him on Fred and Bruno. I genuinely think, probably the biggest thing that sort of baffled me in the last 12, 18 months was the criticism of Bruno amongst our fan base. I genuinely think he's probably our best player and has been for the last few years. I know Rashford's in the form he is, but the influence he has, he's always available. The difference this season, when I saw him starting right mid today, I think that was a big gamble. It just shows how Ten Hag developing these players to become very fluid. He can operate across in the half channels, across the front three, and he leads from the front. I think he's the perfect player and individual to carry out the manager's instructions, and that's why there's no coincidence Ten Hag's given the armband, starting him every single game. And Fred again, not the DJ.
I found his Rumble song the other day, and I absolutely love that. Anyway, a story for another day, but nice one.
Fred was I think it was the wild card today, when people were just assumed we were going to go with the Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksen midfield. I think Fred, superb. One of the contenders for man of the matches. I'm sure we'll get onto it later.
I agree.
He's been brilliant.
He's really has come along. I unfortunately Ralph's time was terrible, but we did see, at least for the first few games, Fred coming on, and I think if you play him further forward, we've spoken about the double pivot with him and McTominay, waste of 2 positions, blah blah blah. But since Ten Hag's come in as well, he really has. When he's been called upon, I don't think he's put a foot wrong for a long time. He was giving the ball away before, wouldn't necessarily get stuck in his challenges, but he hasn't done that for so long, and it's good to see. It's good to see.
It is, and Jamie's right. He's been played in the correct role, and I think the addition of Casemiro is bringing the best out of him. And there's no coincidence you see those two play so well for Brazil together. So, yeah, very, very good option to have, and gives a good balance to our midfield.
Thank you, buddy. I just want to come in about Casemiro. Listen. We talk about him every week at the moment, but the thing is, he's just such a wonderful player to watch. Just quickly, and I'll come to you on him, Stu. I want you to wax lyrical for him, please. Wins when Casemiro started in the Premier League, 79%. Wins when Casemiro hasn't started, 25%. That's a hell of a golf.
Yeah, look, Casemiro today didn't have his best game. If you watched him, absolutely watched him, he got away with 3 or 4.
He did, yeah, he did.
Certain tackles which really should have been fouls for whatever reason weren't given against. But having said that, he didn't have his best game, but it was still higher than we've ever seen, since Roy Keane's days and Paul Ince days, of how to marshal a team and how to play with a tempo. And I think what Casemiro showed today was an ability to kind of not let the game and the atmosphere go to his head, because he's obviously played El Clasico, etc. But you saw more defensive manoeuvres from Casemiro today in our box, including headers, than you have done previously. And what that says to me today was he's got this massive will to win, which we all know about, and he was going to do everything he can to win the game of football. But that kind of stifled his game, really. And that's why he didn't have his best game for Manchester United today, but he was still way above the levels that we've seen. The thing about Casemiro is, and you talked, Jamie spoke about Rodri, they don't appear to do a huge amount in a game on occasions. Like Rodri today, kind of drifted in and out of the games, but he drifts in and out of the games at the right time. Casemiro drifted in and out the game at the right time today. He was just a little bit over eager and over anxious, and sometimes that can be an issue. People will be looking at me thinking, "For fuck's sakes, Stu, what are you talking about, mate? What do you want from the man?" But we're here to analyse the game. We're here to talk about football as it is, and you guys know, because you all play football, that there are times where even the coolest player on the planet, Zidane, has got himself into loads of ruckuses. But loads of footballers, Ronaldinho did. They sometimes have got this ability to just kind of lose their minds a little bit, and passion overtakes. And that's what happened today. Passion overtook. But, and I really do mean this, but he's still head and shoulders above anyone else in the Premier League for that decision. So I probably surprised you there, Mark. I didn't mean to. I'm not being critical.
No, not at all. I totally understand that. He's been fantastic. He brings a lot more. As you say, he wasn't great today. You're absolutely right, but he still managed to, be a leader, marshal the team, as you say, when it counted.
He got the Haaland blocking. He got the he got the header. Cleared a header 3 minutes into injury time. Right.
There's a few of those. It's very interesting to see that our fullbacks are inverting a lot more, and I don't think there's a coincidence that Ten Hag comes from that Guardiola. Same with Mikel Arteta. It seems to be the current trend with the fullbacks joining midfield, and he is dropping into midfield, defence rather.
You've just picked up on the area where Ten Hag was spot on.
Yeah.
I can only remember 4 occasions where any City fullback went into the midfield role, and they do it regular. But we stopped them doing it. We attacked the wings that stopped and prevented those going into the midfield. It was a brilliant tactical manoeuvre by, and you're absolutely right, Fred. Brilliant tactical manoeuvre by him. He stopped doing that. That gave Rodri an issue in the middle of the park, because he was looking for that extra body and it wasn't there. And that gave Bruno, as again, Jamie was spot on, you both were spot on, more space to get into, more space to manoeuvre, which made Bruno a bit more dangerous. But look, I love Casemiro. You know me, I was a defensive midfielder myself. I understand the position. I get all about it, but passion took over. And there's nothing wrong with passion, by the way.
No, spot on. Lovely points, all of you. Thanks for today. You're always great coming on, and give these guys a follow. Absolute brilliant stuff. Love them. Right, we're going to come to ratings now. I'm going to start with David De Gea. Not his best day today. Distribution wasn't very good personally, but who wants to take him and give him a rating? And I want everyone in the comments as well. Those of you on Twitter, actually, I haven't said this yet. Can't read your comments out on there, guys. Loads of you. So come over to youtube.com/weekly armchair sports talk and get your comments in here. Love to read those out. Who wants to take David De Gea rating? And as I said, you guys comment in there and give us your rating too. Not all at once.
Nobody wants to do that today.
I think just a 6 out of 10. They had one shot on target. It was a goal. As you mentioned, Mark, distribution was a bit sloppy at times. Didn't have too much to do, but it was a solid sort of provided some solid authority behind the defence. So just a straight 6 out of 10, I think. Fair.
Yep. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Jamie.
7.5.
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there today.
I think he was absolutely spot on. He didn't put a foot wrong. This could have been one of those games where the game gets away from him. Foden runs him ragged. Grealish runs him ragged, and before you know it, he's hooked at half time, and we have to mess about with our formation. Bring Malacia over to right back and put Shaw at left. And do you know what I mean? Like, it could have been one of those games, but it wasn't. He was disciplined. He was back to his best when it comes to his defensive ability, which I don't think anyone's ever really questioned. But watching him progress the ball into the midfield, we spoke before about that point where he danced through the City players, and I genuinely was like, who is this man? Because I've never seen, the guy got the nickname the Spider because he's got obviously really long limbs, which helps him in his tackling, but has obviously hindered him with his dribbling and other footballing activities in the past. So watching him just all of a sudden just absolutely, Cruyff turning. I want to say it was like Rodri and Walker and stuff like that, but we're just watching him do that, retaining the ball and then being able to offload it to a United player. Fantastic. So yeah, I think he did everything right. He's improving his game. He's, again, as well as Ten Hag has done with Dalot, I think he's also done just as well with Wan-Bissaka. There were talks of Wan-Bissaka being frozen out the side, being sent back to Palace. Wolves were interested in him. All this stuff. Guy was wicked. Guy was absolutely wicked, and he deserves to stay in this United squad if he wants to. Then he deserves to stay.
Tuesday for me. Plays Tuesday. Would play above Dalot for me at the minute. By the way, I just thought
me too. I totally agree.
It's going to have to, isn't it?
That point on the inverted fullbacks I made earlier, this will suit him because he's not the best crosser, but he can get involved in the build-up and help the midfield. So yeah, I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing him have an upturn in form.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thanks, boys. Just coming to this comment here, we've spoken about this quite a few times, Hammer, on a few shows. We talked about Steve McLaren, Benny McCarthy, improving Rashford. And I think it is testament. Sometimes players need a bit of a break under a lot of criticism, had a bit of time out, bit like Jadon Sancho at the moment. And you know what? I'm really excited for Jadon to come back as well, because I think we'll see him come back as a completely new player. He's done this, he's nurtured, he's progressed these players unbelievably well. Not just him, all the coaching staff. So hopefully that continues to happen, but they do need credit. Right, moving on to Varane. Shu, talk to me about your man Varane.
Yeah, I liked him today. I have been critical of Varane in the past, but I was right to criticise. But he's not made those mistakes this season at all. He's been very methodical with his positioning. He's been a lot more aggressive this season than he has been. I think he's playing with a thought process in his brain. If I get injured, I get injured, but I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to give everything I can. Thought he was excellent today. I can't give him any more than Wan-Bissaka, and I can't give him any less. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. And I thought it's a well-deserved 7.5.
Yeah, I can't disagree with it. Luke Shaw, Fred.
I'd give him an 8. Actually, I think he had a very good game, and
brilliant.
It's good to see Ten Hag rewarding good performances with starts, and he's not just going for favourites. I mean, that's the first goal I think we've conceded, is it, in the league post World Cup? I might be wrong, and I don't think it's and he's keeping 3 top centre backs out of the team on the bench. So, albeit Martinez might not be fully match fit, but. Yeah, he's given a lot of protection to Malacia as well. I don't know if it's a coincidence that he's playing a bit better, and he's actually one of our most physical defenders. And I think it was a good tactical decision to put him on Haaland today. And he offers you that different sort of outlet being left-footed.
I don't think, as I said, I didn't think it would be a thing. I don't think it should be a surprise to us, Luke Shaw playing in the back 2. We've seen him playing in the back 3, which I know is a totally different situation, scenario. And I think from that, I was thinking, I'm not sure if he'll ever be good in the back 2. But you're right, he's one of our most physical defenders, even though he's actually also very good going forward. I honestly, absolutely over the moon with him at the moment. And
I'd agree with that.
A
wonderful display today.
Can I just say, sorry, the only concern is he is our best left back. So, you've got to there's an opportunity cost there, isn't there? You might be doing well centre back. It's reliant on Malacia continuing that form as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he's utilised in the next few weeks.
I was going to touch on Malacia because Jarvis is kind of taking the words out of my mouth. Sorry.
Go on.
But Malacia gets a 7 for me. That particular reason is what you were saying. Look, as a fullback, you clatter your opponent. You do it. But he was a bit naive today in the tackle, and you've got a clever player in Mahrez. And Mahrez will go down at the slightest Grealish will, but we all know this anyway, don't we, about Grealish? But Mahrez is the same. He's quite a lightweight player, so he goes down. So I just thought I felt at times he was a little bit overzealous with his tackling. However, Mahrez was complaining. And when Mahrez was complaining, you've got on top of Mahrez. And I think Malacia overall, over the 90 minutes, got on top of Mahrez as a player. That's why I give him a 7. But Jarvis is right. You've just got to be a bit more sensible. I don't know what you guys think.
I thought he was good, considering his age. He has adapted to his place in this United side quite well, I think, since he joined us. Obviously, he had that really hot run of form as when he first came in. He looked really good, and we thought that the back four for the season was going to be, Delo, Varane, Martinez, and Malacia, and it's interchanged as we've gone on, and we've still looked solid. So I think he was good. He's bounced back from that dip, which was important. Yes. As a young fullback, if you're going through a bit of poor form, it's important that you can dig in and kick on and get some good games. And I think today was good. Mahrez barely had a sniff, which on his day,
yeah.
On his day, Mahrez is one of the best attackers in the league. I think he is probably
enough for me. If I'm honest.
But for me, and I've always said this, is that I think Mahrez is the best dribbler in the league. I think the way he carries the ball is phenomenal. He has a really low centre of gravity, and the ball sticks to his foot really well. So he probably is. If you're up against a runner, if you're up against a winger that wants to knock the ball into the space as a fullback, it's probably a little bit easier for you to manage that because it's a foot race and a bit of pushing and jostling. But somebody that likes to take the ball and try and run through you as well as Mahrez can do, because I think he is wicked. I think Malacia dealt with that well. I agree there was a bit of naivety in his game, but that comes with age and experience.
It's the only reason I gave him 7. Otherwise, I would have given him the same as Wan-Bissaka, 7.5. It's the only reason I give him a 7. So.
Yeah, great points. Just to give you a little update, there's been no goals in any of the 4 games at the minute, but by all accounts, Brighton are absolutely all over Liverpool. And a win today.
Brighton are superb, aren't they?
Yeah, so good. It's what happens when you get rid of a rubbish manager. But there you go. Just playing on that a little bit. Right, Casemiro. Who wants him?
I've got on Casemiro.
Yeah, let me jump in on him just because I slightly disagree with what we were saying. I personally think he shouts for man of the match purely because of the impact that he has on this United side. If we play without that defensive midfielder, if we play McTominay instead of him, we lose that game. And that's not a dig at McTominay. I'm not trying to be negative and blame it all on one player. The impact that Casemiro has, and there's a reason why, as fans, we've been screaming out for a defensive midfielder for what feels like a decade. When Casemiro was announced, and me, Reece, and Jamie did the show talking about him, we all spoke about what we thought he could bring and the control, the leadership, and the tackling. His passing range was good, and everything that we've said. Not to be one of those people that's like, oh, I told you so, because we all knew that about Casemiro. The problem was it going to translate to the Premier League? Today, in one of the biggest games of our season, I think he came in, and there was a couple of nervy moments for him, granted. And I think, Stu, you're spot on when you said that I think he got a bit anxious at times, and I think that's the weight of the fixture. Maybe him going, look like we were absolutely dominated last time. This is my opportunity to show how good I can be for this side. And I think he was. I think the last ditch tackles he was making were spot on. I think you've got the two. I know people. I do think that Casemiro is the best defensive midfielder in the league. I think that Rodri has been the best defensive midfielder in the league since he joined City. I think Casemiro, though, is just a little bit ahead. But I can respect people's argument for Rodri. I don't think there's much in it. I think today Casemiro was the more important of the two for his side. And for me, I would.
Rodri was excellent, as I was saying earlier. Yeah, on the ball,
Rodri was brilliant.
He's so great. He's so good to watch on the ball. He looks so comfortable,
and that's La Liga for you. That's Spain for you. Is that they develop these players. Whereas we get players that come through like Carrick, and everyone's blown away by Carrick's passing range, the way that he controls the tempo of the game. I genuinely think in Spain that you get them, the tenor penny, because of how drilled their academies are into the technicality side of the game. Yeah. And I love watching Spanish football. because you look at I'm not going to mention one of them, but two of the best defensive midfielders in the world came through La Liga. They're now playing the Premier League, in Rodri and Casemiro. There is another one, but we don't talk about him because he's a danger. And it shows that how good La Liga are at developing these players. But for me, Casemiro, I'm going to give him 7.5. I think he was spot on. I think he was the difference for us today in terms of, I know obviously Rashford scored the winner, but I don't think we get into that position to even. I mean, obviously Casemiro he assisted the first goal, so
that was wonderful.
One of those.
Wonderful
great pass. So you see both sides of him. You see the best sides of him. You see his screening side, his defensive side, but also how he progresses the play. He's got that brain about him. He was never coming for a retirement. Do you know what I mean? Like there's legs in that. There's legs in that man.
Well,
he's only 30, isn't he?
The way that the commentators were going on about Casemiro today, you would have thought Kevin De Bruyne wasn't older than him.
Yeah. Interestingly, and I will say one thing about Casemiro. Did anyone? Bernardo Silva was supposed to be their 10, wasn't he? They're floating 10 today.
I didn't see much of him at all today.
Well, how many times did you see him come deep to pick up the balls off the centre halves because he wasn't getting anything? Casemiro in the middle. And Fred, by the way, although Fred was man marking De Bruyne.
Yeah. We're moving on to Fred now. So lovely little segue there. Fred, your namesake. Fred for Fred. Talk to me.
8.5 for me. I think one of the better performers. He's still on De Bruyne. I personally think he's their main player. Haaland's getting in the goals, but this guy I think is their best player and one of the best in the league, if not the best, certainly over the past few years. And he's one that usually always has a good game against us. And he didn't. You could tell you how frustrated he was getting in the first half. I mean, and you can tell how good he is because he didn't just stick, he moved, he was pushed out to wider positions. And that's another reason I think why Bernardo Silva wasn't getting the service further to your point, Stu. So huge credit to Fred. Good defensively, good offensively as well. A lot of counter attacks went through him. Solid 8 out of 5. And he's on a very, very good season so far. So credit to Ten Hag and everyone associated at the club for that.
Great points. Spot on. Ericsson.
I don't think
he was brilliant today.
It's a funny one. It's a funny one, actually. Perhaps wouldn't score him as low as 4. I understand why Jamie would. I perhaps give him a 6. And then the only reason I'd say that is he didn't necessarily give the ball away. He was very neat and tidy with what he did, but he was very lame in his progression today. And I can't believe I'm saying this about Ericsson because I love the guy. I think he's brilliant. I love Ericsson. He's a fantastic footballer, but he didn't have his best game today. He really didn't. And that's all I can say. I can't really say any more.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that games like this aren't necessarily set up for him to have his best games because he's not looking. Yeah. He's not got the time to find the pockets of space. He is best set up for those games where we dominate the ball. And I'm with you, Stu. I absolutely love Ericsson. I still think he's one of the best bits of business any club did over the summer. And it's okay for people to have poor games. And, maybe 4 is a bit harsh. It's mainly just because, I think the game got away from him a little bit. The booking, I think, was out of frustration. They
were quick around him. Every time he got the ball, they were quick. They were snappy around him. And it's not, you're right, it isn't Ericsson's game. Ericsson likes to take it, be able to look over his shoulder, just make sure he's got a little bit of space, get it, and then move it. But when you've got somebody coming in, just pounding you constantly, it's impossible.
I think because he had to play a bit further forward, didn't he, today as well, in front of Casemiro? So it was a bit alien.
He had to play
exactly. He had to play. I just don't think it was the right game, quite position for him. And I think you noticed our sort of game change in the second half. We reacted when he came off and Garnacho came on. So it's a bit concerning that he doesn't really last 90 minutes. But I think when
he did die. Like we can give him the benefit of the doubt. Do you know what I mean?
And to be honest, though, although Fred makes a really good point there, it's great that we've got game changers to come off the bench, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, Fred. So as Garnacho came, it enabled Ten Hag to he's had it in his brain, as you can almost see. He's had it in his brain.
What do we give Ericsson?
I gave him a 6. I mean,
I'll back 6. I'll back a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Garnacho next, so move on to that then, Stu.
Oh well, look, I have been critical of Garnacho, not critical on anything about the way that he is, his demeanour and that. It's just that the ball moves quicker than his brain. And if anyone ever watched the movie Goal, have you ever seen it? Goal. Everybody loves the Goal.
Movie.
Yeah. Old Nunez or whatever his name is. He's a very, very similar type of player to him. But there's a really good segment in that film where the gaffer says to Nunez, right, I want you to run towards the goal as fast as you can. And he just kicks the ball, loops over his head. He does it 3 times and he says to him, he says, what have you learned? And the player goes, typical response, well, you can score from the halfway line. He goes, no. He says, the ball can run quicker than your mind and you. And that's Garnacho's only problem. Once he gets that sorted, once he gets his brain and his feet sorted together, he will be phenomenal. And I mean this, he will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Agreed.
He's got a
18 years of age,
huge
right?
ceiling, isn't he?
And he's just got, and today, Ten Hag's or McLaren or McCarthy, someone's got at him, Casemiro, Ericsson, Bruno, someone's got at him and told him, when you penetrate that box, think. And I don't know what you guys saw, but I saw him think today.
Yeah.
First time I actually saw him thinking.
Yeah, he's one of the most direct footballers I think I've ever seen, especially that young. He just, as soon as he gets the ball, he just goes straight to the goal.
He's got no fear, has he?
And it's amazing to see, and he's so confident. I mean, the assist for the winner was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I'm going to give the kid an 8. I'm going to give the kid an 8.
Yeah.
I thought he had that big
Game changer
when he came on.
And you know what?
I have been critical of him. You all know I have, but I feel for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, for the right reasons. But he showed me something today. I thought he was a game changer. 8.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was
I'm
brilliant.
very chuffed with the lad. So
just quickly, just rapid. I really hope that his contract is a priority for the club.
Yeah.
And
Rashford. And Rashford.
I also hope he just stays grounded and he doesn't just get. And the club have got a part to play in this as well. They need to develop youngsters. It's all well on the pitch talent, but they need to develop him into a good human being. And because you know what it's like. You're Man United, all the fame that comes with it can go to your head. So I just hope he stays grounded, continues to focus on football, and then just develop as a person as well as a footballer. And if so, he'll have a superb career.
Side issue. Did you guys see Palestra's interview from the Carabao Cup? Did you see his interview?
I didn't see that.
He's quite a softly spoken lad, but my God, has he got his brain and his feet on the ground?
Yeah, he was really good actually when he came on the other day.
And he was amazing. He was good. So if Garnacho can have that, and we do something with his contracts, I'll hold my hands up any day of the week.
Winner.
Yeah.
He showed me something today that I hadn't seen previously. So
I absolutely think you're spot on. Absolutely spot on. Jarvis in the comments, Garnacho is a perfect impact player at this stage of the career. Absolutely spot on, Jarvis. Always love having you with us with Jarvis. So make sure you come back again next time, buddy. Hammer saying that damn spin for the assist. And great to have you with us, Reese. He was the key difference overall. I think you're absolutely right. Loads of you here. Make sure you like and subscribing. We're almost finished now, and we've really enjoyed having you with us. It's been a great conversation by the boys down. As I say before, these three are fantastic. Love them to bits, and make sure you give them a follow. Right, last couple of players then. Bruno Fernandes. Who wants him? Not all at once. Come on.
Go on, Jamie.
I'd give him a 7. I think he, 6.57. I think he was good today. The goal was obviously was spectacular. There was a couple of times when the game got away from him. Like Stu mentioned before, drifting in and out of the game. So it's something that happens, and I think that you can see when Bruno's done it, because when he's drifted out of the game, you can guarantee about 2 minutes later he'll commit a foul. It always happens. It's almost like his brain goes, oh shit, and then he sprints after someone. I'm annoyed because I had him in a bet builder to get booked because I thought he was the most nailed on booking, and there was 3. He had like 3 challenges in the space of 2 minutes that all could have got a booking, and I was just like, Anyway, obviously we won, so that's the main thing. But yeah, no, I'd give him a 7. I think he occupied and harassed the midfield well. He progressed the ball. There was a couple of times, like I said before, his passes were a bit wayward, but the goal was fantastic.
Yeah, great finish. Aside from all the potential offside and all that, it was a fantastic finish. Fantastic. You still had a lot to do. Rashford might have been in the way, arguable, whatever else, all that behind it. He had to finish that, and it was a great finish.
Can I just say, he was only in the way of Bruno. If you think about
We
was only blocking Bruno. He wasn't blocking anyone else.
Yeah, so, you're right.
No, great goal. I agree with 7. I think 7's a very fair.
Spot on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do.
Yeah, absolutely right. So I'm going to do Martial as well because he had half a game at least. So I'll give that to you, Freddie.
It's a hard one. I'm a bit on the fence with Martial. No, not just because of his minutes. I'm a bit on the fence because he is playing and we're playing well as a team and we are winning. We have been. I just think we can really upgrade with him, and I'm very happy that Weghorst is here at least just as an alternative. And I just get sick that we can't rely. He's not reliable. We can't rely on 90 minutes. We need a striker this summer. I'd give him a 5. Yeah, that might be a bit harsh. He is good at holding 45, up.
So that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was.
The thing is with Martial, I think he's a good player. And we see that hold-up play, and I said to you at the beginning of the show, as soon as he went off, that was our biggest problem, holding the ball up there, bringing players into play. That was a massive problem.
He did okay. He's injured though, isn't he? I think
he went injured.
And the rest of the time, he's injured. I do agree. I think we need to upgrade on him. Not ideally, we wanted to get someone in that could hold the ball up as well as him. We don't have anybody else like that in the club. But he's also his finishing's regressed massively. I don't know what's happened with him, but anyway, I think that's a fair point. I was going to do Anthony as well, but we're running over, boys. It's been a great show, as I said, but we'll leave him out for now, and we'll just go on to Rashford. So, Jamie, do you want to finish this off with Rashford?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Million out of 10, as it was.
9 goals.
Yeah, he was good today, wasn't he, Rashford? He was good today.
It was good. I was he was going to come off, but he didn't.
Yeah, when he went down with that groin injury or whatever it was.
He would have. Yeah. He would have. Last season, he would have come off.
Yeah. And you know what? I was going to read that earlier. Ten Hag said that today. He said exactly that. He said, really? You have to be resilient. You get kicked, it hurts, but you have to keep going. Fight and deal with the painful moment. This is exactly what Rashford did today, and he and the team got rewarded in top football. You have to suffer. So he's kind of alluding to exactly that. Perhaps a year ago, 18 months ago, that might have been him done for the game, but he was ready and he carried on. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, guys, we're going to finish there. An hour and 7 minutes in, a little bit more than what I'd wanted normally, but it's been a great show. We could talk forever. Honestly, we were very, very excitable, I think, like kids at the beginning of the show. And you can see now, obviously, it's settled in and we digested a little bit. We could talk all day. It's been a fantastic result today. Really, really changed something. This was a pivotal game today. No matter where we finish, I think this is a massive, massive 3 points. And really has sort of shut up a lot of people, I think, in many ways, and now probably given a little bit more belief to United fans in many ways. And as he said a few months ago, eras do come to an end, and I'll leave you on that one. Don't want to get ahead of myself, but things are changing and it's looking good. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining in with us, and we'll see you soon.